Hi everybody, I'm Skyrim.
I'm Josh.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Seamus. And more Skyrim.
That's
Yeah.
Draugr get killed. Oops,
You know, this is
I
actually
hit
pretty nice
my
that we have the
healing
opportunity
button.
to do this, fight Draugr. We're not gonna get an opportunity to do this later in the game. I
You know,
really
we
feel
He
showed-
was
this is a
asking,
missed
why don't you
opportunity.
use your left button?
They
your left
spend all
hand?
of this time on this, like, all on these Draugr barrow environments and on these Draugr enemies, and then they don't get much use out of them. It's just like this one quest. What's up with that?
Yeah,
You know, you
that's
joke.
totally exactly what happened, Rutskarn.
You joke, but I could actually go for more Draugr. Like, sometimes I'm like, you know what? I could go for some Draugr,
That's
and
really
there
bright,
aren't any
yeah.
Draugr ruins. I mean, there are fewer Draugr ruins than there are bandits, if you want to think of it that way.
Right, so we're at the actual reality of the situation for those of you who have not played Skyrim, and believe me, it's a matter of time. But for those of you who still haven't played Skyrim, let's say, the most of the quests for like the companions and stuff like that will eventually have you going into places like this and fighting more Draugr. And it's one of the common complaints in the game. Is that
It is
there's too much
interesting.
Draugr fighting.
Yeah, and I actually don't mind it. You know, when you do a lot of freelance, like if you don't do any quests and you just go from dungeon to dungeon, you don't run into
Okay,
a lot of
that
Draugr
fucking
because a lot of them are keyed to quests. So, you know, like a lot of them you can't get into it because, you know, you
Yeah.
need the quest giver to get you in the front door or whatever.
Yeah,
So
we'll
if
be-
you
we'll
just
be
wander around,
Seeing
you
one
don't
of the
actually
ways
do.
that you can't get into some of them.
Yeah. So if you just wander around, you actually won't fight a lot of Draugr. But I enjoy it, and I guess I enjoy it more than bandits. I get tired of bandits more than I get tired of Draugr.
I guess because Draugr, you don't expect to have motivation. It's frustrating in an RPG to have bandits that are like just mindless things that run at you and try to kill you, whereas you don't. It doesn't bother me so much when it's zombies, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, you
gonna
expect a
understand it a
Draugr to be
little
there and
bit.
fight to the death.
Because Draugr, this is not the first game that Draugr have appeared in. Draugr did actually appear in the game Blood Moon, which was an expansion for Morrowind. And in that game, they appeared in Solstheim, sort of an island between Skyrim and Morrowind. And they had sort of like their thing was, the lore was that they were people who had resorted to cannibalism, kind of like Wendigos. And they were actually kind of tough opponents, and they were really scary. Like, they had like kind of these green glowing eyes, and they were really fast, and just kind of, they were definitely unsettled, much more than these Draugr do. These Draugr are much more mooks. It's kind of interesting how they made that choice to sort of scale them back into just zombie protectors of barrows.
Yeah. And I don't mind it. Although that's a problem that Elder Scrolls games always have. Is like, after a while, there's going to be some enemy that you're like, is this it in the whole friggin' game? Am I just going to fight 10 million of these? And a lot of that is just because you fight a lot of enemies in this game because you play it for a long time. I mean, it just takes a while, and no matter what is in the game, you're going to get sick of fighting it. And the only way to fix that, yeah.
It's by no means an uncommon RPG problem.
Click each one twice, Josh. Just click each ring twice. That's how you get through the door.
That's it, really?
That's
Is-
it. I've
you
done
just-
this enough times.
Alright, I'm gonna trust you here. 1, 2...
I was about to say, for those of you playing along at home, but if you're playing along with the puzzles in fucking Skyrim, then you probably could be using your time better.
Yeah, so this is the other, like, oh, this puzzle is slightly more difficult than pick the lock on this door. Also, one of the ways that they keep you from getting into some of the dungeons is if you don't have the claw, then you can't, look at the front door.
I will say that that is a little bit tricky if you don't realize that you can rotate items around in your inventory.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually kind of a cool mechanic they don't use enough
Oh
of.
man,
which
this
is
is
that
so
sort of item,
weird.
Like Tomb Raider did that to good effect of having to look at items, and I wish that this game
Yeah.
actually did more of that.
Yeah, I
Skyrim
wish
has
they
this
did more of that too.
problem like that, where it'll introduce something, like a kind of a cool mechanic or option, but it doesn't reinforce it often enough for you to think of doing that.
Right.
Like, often people say something like, man, I hate this quest, you have to follow along and do all this bullshit. So I'll be like, oh, you don't have to do all that, just kill the quest giver. And they're like, you can do that? And the reason is because 90% of the time the quest giver is unkillable, and it just sort of fucks things up and breaks your immersion if you try murdering them.
Right.
It's just frustrating.
Oh, this
So
is
you don't
want
to try just on the off chance.
That you have to get the word first, and then he pops out. That's right. Hey, what's up? Are we on, like, novice difficulty or some shit? This is really, really easy.
Speaking of
It's
difficulty,
Skyrim?
this week, I finally got around to playing a two-handed weapon character, and I am pretty much ready to declare that to be the easiest of the easy modes. I know this game is generally pretty easy, but I think it's the most expedient. Maybe you can't call one more easy than the other, but it is the most expedient in that I just pound everybody on the head once and without even breaking stride. Just charge
that's
through a
definitely
dungeon.
why I like the
One-handed
two-handed
probably
axes.
has a higher damage potential overall, although if you use Elemental Fury with a two-handed weapon that's not enchanted, then it's actually better.
I like the
if
range
you-
on a two-handed weapon, too.
Yeah. So I think two-handed weapon is going to be my normal playthrough go-to thing now. But for playing hardcore, nothing beats stealth and a bow. If you don't want to ever die because you're playing Iron Man hardcore, then you definitely want to use a bow and stealth.
Something I was trying to say before, I've played through this dungeon recently, and in my normal game, and I have a bunch of lighting mods on, so this was all, like, super dark. Like, I could stand over here and I'd be in complete darkness because it removes all the ambient light, and it's so weird playing through the dungeons again in vanilla lighting conditions, and just seeing this, like, all this green-blue filter fog over everything. It's...
And to be fair, if they
It's
released
really
a game
bizarre.
where you could barely see, like a first-person game where you could barely see anything
Oh, yeah.
at any time,
Absolutely.
that'd be pretty boring. But actually kind of cool, I have to admit, and that's why mods exist. So everybody's happy.
I wonder if the AI is aware
was
of the lighting changes in Josh's mod. Because the AI does take lighting into account somehow, but I don't know if it's actually looking at like the lighting or if it's all just baked in.
I
It's-
imagine
I
it's
think it's
proximity
baked
to
in.
light objects. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Because I installed a mod which, like, it was like a darker
Eat
nights
everything.
mod, and kind of stupidly I installed it without looking at any screenshots, and I got in and it was just stupidly dark, just completely unplayably dark. Even if you had a torch out, like you couldn't see. Like it was way more dark than real life is, actually.
Have
Right.
you messed around with your like? Did you mess around with your brightness or something?
No, it was a crappy mod.
But-
is the upshot.
But
the point is,
but-
the NPCs had no problem with it.
oh yeah, so the lighting, the logic that drives detection is either baked in or using some other system, and doesn't actually take lighting into account.
Where's that?
So that means that Josh's mod wouldn't immediately
That's
be
over here.
overpowered for stealth characters.
No.
Yeah.
The game like is super generous with sneaking anyway. It's
Well, once you get the skill up, and until then, it's actually kind of hard. Well, not hard, but very easy to get spotted when you think you're invisible, but you're not.
Oh, incidentally, Seamus, I was wondering at what point you were going to rant about the Dragonstone weighing 25 pounds.
As it's been explained to me, and I believe this is the case, quest items do not weigh you down, regardless of how much it says they weigh. They do not weigh you down.
Yeah, that's
if
totally the
if-
case.
If you're not allowed to drop it. The moment you're allowed to drop
I
it,
ran
then
it
all of a
up.
sudden all that weight comes down on you. So technically, the Dragonstone never
stuff.
weighs anything.
Okay, Josh, I'm just gonna go ahead. I would bet you $50 that this woman's unkillable, because it turns out she's important for some quest somewhere.
No,
What do you
but
think, am I right?
she is a vampire. I'm gonna prove it.
Really? Is
going
that
into
what
her
her
cellar.
deal is?
Yeah,
I always wondered.
or
I'd
something
walk
along
by
those
her.
lines. She's
I don't know where you live, Seamus, but I've never seen a sweet old granny sitting on the stoop with a black
or
robe and a
just
black
a
hood.
generic witch. I don't know.
What does it mean to be a witch in a world of Talos and the Nines?
It's like a lady
no
with
idea.
spellcaster we don't like because she's not good. She's bad. No, there's an actual answer to that, which is that I think it has to do with Deidre worship. But it's been a while since I consulted the wiki.
So, more of a Daedric occultist than a witch proper?
Yeah, like in Daggerfall, for example, if you wanted to summon one of the Deidre, you had to go to a witch coven. I think
This
that's
is
sort
actually-
of generally the canon.
I wonder if this place resets, because this is actually a decent house. It's got an alchemy lab and an enchanting table right next to
Well, I
each
don't think
other
it
in a
spawns
cellar.
a new old lady, Josh, if that's what you're asking.
Well, no.
No, but
obviously not.
do the containers reset? Because you don't want to put all your valuables in a container, and then what? Yeah, if for people who don't know, this game is mostly persistent. If you put some stuff in a container, and you come back tomorrow, that stuff you put in the container will still be there. But if you don't go somewhere for like 10 days, like we just left Bleak Falls Barrows, if we don't go back there for 10 days or 15 days, I forget what the timer is,
So, yeah,
it totally
see, Fool,
resets.
none can know my secret. Oh no. Hey, why don't you throw a few more of those at me? I need to level my restoration.
And I think the big reason it does that, it resets areas, is just to keep your save file from getting too big, since your save file is just basically a diff.
Stay classy, Catbird. And now I'm going to strip her naked and take all her stuff.
Like you do.
So, you would think that, like, I mean, Rutskarn's probably the best person to ask about this, but why is it that some of the most important things that happen in the Oblivion or the Elder Scrolls universe take place A, outside of any game, and B, usually don't involve the player? Like, right now Morrowind is a giant ashy volcano of doom, and that happened completely off screen, but we don't really reference too often what happened in Oblivion with, you know, the whole ending of the line.
That's an excellent question, Chris,
Yeah.
and it's a very complex phenomenon. I think I generally refer to it by sort of what's the accepted scholarly title, which is
The crap out of
wanky
the
DM
elk!
phenomenon. And how it basically works is that the DM spends a lot of time thinking about how cool his universe is, and then when it comes time to have to give the player something to do in it, he's like, I don't know, clean up after this part, I guess.
I'm imagining Seamus watching me do this, running down the river and going, "Oh my God, you'd be so dead in Frostfall."
I was like biting my tongue. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to keep talking about Frostfall because it's a mod that we're not using, so I'm not going to mention. But yeah, this actually, having taken a swim in this area, not dangerous because this area of the world is actually fairly warm. Might be a little dicey at night, but you could go swimming here during the day and be fine.
Actually, the
Is
dominant
this place
philosophy
open
in almost
permanently
all of
while
the
this
Elder
quest
Scrolls
is
games
going?
is that, like, I think Morrowind is maybe the only real exception, is that stuff happens and you're just kind of there to deal with it. Like, it's you're the hero, nominally speaking, but you have nothing to do with the crisis at hand. You're sort of... You're in close proximity. And I'm not criticizing this, because it
there
allows...
was an enchanting table back there.
I guess the theory is that it allows you more character agency. It's a very deliberate choice, but I just think it's an interesting choice.
Yeah, as
the one
opposed
exception
to
is
you're
in
not the
Morrowind.
king or the prince or anything.
Yeah, in Morrowind, there is a crisis which you need to address, but the crisis is actually tied to who you are because you're spoiler warning slightly, I guess. you're a reincarnation of some guy who's important, or at least possibly or probably a reincarnation.
I loved that about Morrowind. I loved that it was ambiguous. It's like you could be the Nerevar, this prophesied one, or you might not be. And at the end, the bad guy asks you, wow, Nerevar return, is it really you? And you can decide, yep, it's me, I'm back. This is the second coming of the Nerevar. Or you could say, no, I'm just a self-made hero. And, you know, this is just bullshit that everybody else is obsessed with. I really, really loved that. That's one of my favorite moments in the game.
I agree, because I played an elf, and I actually ended up playing the same, like, melee-based character in every Elder Scrolls game. Like, the idea being that she's just sort of gaining... You know, she can survive all of this time and still remain somewhat combat effective, but in between missions she sometimes gets rusty or something. Doesn't actually matter because a lot of the games are level scaled. Anyway, point is, I sort of, since you're an Imperial agent in the first 2 games, by the time we get to the 3rd one, I figure I'm probably just some, you know, they took their best warrior, their most promising warrior, agreed to have them go undercover as a prisoner and sort of cheat everyone by pretending to be the Nerevarine.
There it is.
It made a lot of sense, actually.
Alright, we got your golden claw here, and now you can talk about it.
I mean, the one thing
I
is
love
that
this.
Azura seems to think you're the Nerevarine. Oh, sorry.
Never forget this.
Yeah, Luke in here is like, I'll never forget this. You've done a great thing for me and my sister. And I'm like, what have... you would think that you brought back his son, or that you saved him from dying, and it's one of the decorations on his friggin' desk. It is so ridiculous how much these two are worked up about this stupid claw. And it's such an odd way to handle this quest. It's like, why did the writer do this? I guess they just wanted us to really notice the claw, so that we learned that mechanic.
Maybe he was in a sort of a grasp at humor, although I don't know, it didn't really work for me.
Yeah. What were you
You're gonna steal
saying?
a claw, right, John?
I don't
Oh, I
know,
was gonna
maybe
say
I'll
just-
just hit them with it.
I was gonna say that the one thing is that
Oops.
Azura
Where'd it
claims
go?
you're the Nerevarine, but
Oh, shit.
Azura is very unreliable.
I dropped it.
She's extremely unreliable.
Where did the claw... Oh, there it is.
People forget that
Hey.
Azura is a Daedra.
This is
and
such
even
cool.
The nicest
Yeah, right?
Daedra
There you go.
are just not really
Going
on
back
our level.
downstairs.
There's always a level of they're kind of just fucking around with us to see what happens.
And I like that about them too.
Yeah.
Like,
crap.
the best ones are the mischievous ones.
Oh no, 25 bounty added to Whiterun. We're gonna be in
So,
real
we
trouble
got
the next
this
time we come
quest.
back to Whiterun,
Oh.
right, Josh?
Yeah, we got this quest to, like, set this chick up with people. I have a solution.
No, don't kill Camilla. No, no, not Camilla.
That's someone's wife you just punched, Josh.
No,
No, it
she's
isn't.
Someone
not.
in the
That's
comments
his
said they
sister.
married Camilla.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah. It's, you just killed Lucan's sister. Let's see if he's still grateful about the claw.
Hey,
No,
Lucan,
he's still
what's up?
Hey, what's up?
You okay?
Oh, look. You killed his sister and now he's feeling down.
Wait a minute. None of this is steel anymore.
Why does this man
Because
have a
I have the
boy's
key,
red
does this
tunic?
mean that I don't... It doesn't
Or is
count
it-
to steal any of this
Or
stuff?
is it because she died and she's the technical owner in the game?
Wait, hold on a second. Hang the fuck on. Why does this guy have a set of boys' clothing, like
It's-
children's clothing?
It's
in
random
his chest?
it's random generated loot just for generic containers. Now generates children's clothes. It's part of
because
Hearthfire.
of Hearthfire.
Yeah, let's take
Why?
potions.
Because you
That's
give
so
your
fucking
kids
creepy.
You
Wait,
give
some
your
of those
kids,
things
oh,
were
it's
steel still.
Oh no. Why is it creepy? Just because it means everybody has children's clothes?
If you walked into somebody's house and they just had like a children's pair of clothing in their dresser, and they weren't married and they didn't have any kids, and they were just like an adult living off in the middle of nowhere, wouldn't you find that kind of creepy? I don't know. It's like they've been sort of like killing kids in their shed or something.
I guess. Yeah, they kind of got a Baba Yaga thing going, I guess.
Okay, Josh, you did the good thing. You did the right thing. You killed the Baba
I did.
Yaga. You're the hero
Cool.
that Skyrim deserves. I don't know, Josh. Do you want to create leather or leather?
I want to create all the leather strips. Because these are useful
Why do you want
later.
to? Oh, okay.
You gotta use them to make steel ingots to make daggers and shit.
Yeah, actually, Seamus, if you don't have the leather strips, you can't make yourself the leather thong codpiece of infinite wisdom and power, which is, I think, actually one of the best items in this game.
I don't have that mod run.